Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our Fargo Season 5, Episode 3 reaction and review.
Mhm.
Happy Halloween! Even though we are sitting here in late November talking about this episode, which I think is pretty fun at times,
Mhm.
pretty weird at times. It took a couple of unexpected twists, I think we can say, in all of this.
Unexpected. Oh my goodness. I do not know what is going on with Ole Munch there, but it's real weird. It took
Yep.
a very weird turn all of a sudden where it started to feel a little bit paranormal. And I was just like, what is happening? Did I
Yep.
accidentally switch to another channel?
I don't know. I think that's a big question. I mean, let us know in the comments about this. Do you guys think Fargo is going paranormal? And if so, is this a good thing? It is. We got a lot of strange Ole Munch backstory in all of this, but yet at the same time, we're seeing Dot and Wayne try
Mhm.
to move forward with Operation Protect the Home, which seems to have a couple of different components to it.
Mhm.
Number one, switching out the street signs, which
Yeah.
is a hilarious move that I think could actually work for people who do not pay attention to landmarks. Like, I'm a landmark guy. I don't pay enough attention to street signs. I would be fine. Number two, Dot's impersonation of Negan from The Walking Dead with that costume. I just think that is where this show shines the most to me. It is sort of that down the earth, what's an seemingly ordinary person going to do to stop these forces that are charging at them?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I really like about Dot is how crafty she is and how she's able to use what she can to try to figure things out, protect herself, get away from things. And I know that I've seen some comments out there feeling like Dot wouldn't be able to do some of the things that she's doing. But I mean, most of us have seen Home Alone. I mean, we all remember how young he was, and he was able to deal with those two intruders who were full on grown men. So I feel like for me, it's believable that she is somebody. I mean, she's escaped Roy Tillman, who is pretty bad. So, I mean,
Yeah.
if she's able to get out of that and be crafty enough to have hidden for all this time, to me, it feels very believable that she's been able to kind of buy herself time, switching the signs around, some of the other things that she's put together in her home.
I just think if you have gone through what she has gone through, you probably have spent every single day thinking about what if something happens? How can I
Yes.
prepare? I think she's very crafty as a function of just preparedness. And, luckily I've not been in that situation, but if I was, I tend to think that I would probably spend every minute of every day thinking about option A, B, C. What if I'm at the grocery store and somebody shows up? What do I do in that instance? There's a lot that's going on with all of that.
Yeah, especially since that phone call came in where she picked up the phone, she said nothing,
Yeah.
and she heard him on the other end. She knows she's cooked.
Yeah, it is scary. This show is exciting. It's twisted. We want you guys to be a part of it through all of the season. But also, did you know we have live streams every week talking all about Fargo?
Yep.
If you guys want to check that out, join our Patreon. We have a link in the description below. Those are really fun. We talk about theories, favorite moments, all this great stuff. Like, we are full on Fargo fandoming out here. It has been a lot of fun to cover.
Yeah, this has been a really good season so far. I mean, besides this Old Munch stuff that we are going to get into, that was really, really odd. The season overall has been really good so far.
Yeah, it's been so effective.
Okay, let's talk about that cliffhanger. We
Okay.
are going to get to the Old Munch weirdness a little bit later on, but I want to talk about that cliffhanger where we saw, all covered in blood, Old Munch walking into somebody's home. And my theory here, my tinfoil hat
Yeah.
theory, is that this is Roy's house and that Roy is not home. Roy has remarried, he has twins, and that is what is happening. Ole Munch left a sign being like, you owe me, and we all know he's all about revenge. So he feels that they've taken from him. He no longer is going to really care about Dot. He didn't get paid for that properly, he feels. So he's going to take something from Roy. I think Roy is going to come home in this next episode and his wife and his kids, they're gone. Dead. Done.
I think you're right. I think it's a good theory based on what we've seen on the show so far. It's just there's no motivation for him to go after Dot at this point.
No.
Like, that was just a job for him. And now he has been slighted. And if I am, Noah Hawley, creator of Fargo, what I am actively sort of thinking about here is what can I do to give John Hamm the best material possible? Because like he is a force and he is so good in what we have seen already as Roy. So let's try to throw as much adversity there as possible, where he has already established himself as this like seemingly untouchable, larger than life figure. He feels like, the institutions that have been put there by society can do nothing to him. He's got money, he's got power. People will keep voting for him probably just because they know his name and they don't know what the alternative is. So in that sense, he is easily electable time after time after time. It makes sense that Ole Munch, this person who is not really a part of an institution, who is this just dangerous outsider, that he would let his guard down and bring somebody like this in thinking that he could control them, that this would be the uncertain variable that would really bring about his undoing.
And it's going to be interesting to see how, if this unfolds that way, that both, of his children are killed and his new wife is killed, how Roy is really going to be able to deal with that, because he's so focused on getting Dot, and it doesn't feel like he wants his wife back. He's moved on. He does have another wife and kids. He just wants revenge. He feels slighted, like, you're gonna leave me? How dare you leave me? We have this type of a lifestyle where you do what I say. This is not what I said. Like, where you been? He just wants her to know that he is still in control. So for him to end up in this situation where possibly Ole Munch has gone in and taking care of his wife and his twins, he's going to be so out of control that I feel like for him, he's going to dig his heels in even deeper on Dot, because he's going to want to get back some sort of control. If it's like, okay, well, if this wife is gone and these kids are gone, then I need to get Dot back, not just as revenge. I just need to get her back. Because, I mean, even in their house, there are still pictures of them getting married on the wall with his new wife there. Like, it was so weird. He's so weird.
He is...
We're not even going to get into that bedroom nonsense with him.
Please,
he's just so weird.
No, I hate him, and yet he is so compelling to watch as a character, because there's not a lot of characters out there that are just like this inherently unlikable, and I am rooting intensely for his downfall, but it's kind of crazy because at the same time, there's still a lot of episodes to go. Like, you can't, at least as far as I know, you can't get rid of Roy Tillman in episode 4 or episode 5. How are you going to be able to draw this out? And I think this is, to me, the biggest question moving forward, because yes, Roy Tillman is a complete lunatic. I don't think there's any debate on that subject, but I think he also has to be self-aware enough of the idea that if he wants to be reelected, there's a lot of things that people will probably overlook. I mean, we've seen this already with him, but him going out there overtly, and whether it's killing people or whether it's breaking laws left or right, there might be enough, good cops who will work to actively take him down. So he has to be self-aware enough of how far he can really go in this pursuit. Like, I could see him trying to go and, whether it's Indira, whether it's Wit, one of these other characters, and try to just pull them into his orbit. Like, how resistant are they going to be with that?
I think if his family gets killed, he's going to have a lot of sympathy from voters, from people in the community. I think they're going to rally around him even more. And I think it's going to end up being a thing that could draw in even more power for him and protect him even more. that, if someone like a Wit wants to dig deeper, because I mean, that
Yeah.
standoff with him and Gator in the evidence room, Wit is not somebody that you can push around. Even with him on crutches, and Gator's all like, say that again, sort of thing. He's like, all right, I'm still standing here. Let's
Yeah.
go, sort of thing. I don't care that I'm on crutches. You don't intimidate me. That it's just, he is somebody who's going to keep on going until he gets whatever answers he needs.
I think it's time I introduce myself as I am Gator Gang. Hashtag Gator Gang. Gator.
What?
I'm not rooting for Gator.
What is happening
I
in
also
this
want
video?
I also want Gator to have a tremendous downfall. But he is such a I hate him so much, but I love watching him so much. Like, what a loser this guy is.
He's really complicated. This episode really brought out some layers to him. Like, he really was just kind of like a mini Roy Tillman, and he is. But at the same time, like, we saw some real insecurities come out in him, the way that his father is treating him. If he's not perfect all the time, the manliest man all the time, gets everything right all the time, this note that was left from Ole Munch and the way that Gator hired, the other guy, and then he brought in Ole Munch, and how it all kind of went wrong. I mean, his insecurities are pretty deep rooted.
Gator's just a guy who never had a chance. Like, he literally was never able to be anything other than what he is. He is a destined loser just because his father is a horrible loser and he has no other sort of path out of this. Like, it is this whole nature versus nurture thing. I mean, we covered Succession at the channel, and we talked a lot about this with like Kendall and Roma and Roy, how much like they were products of their upbringing with their father. And I think, with Gator, it is the same exact way, but I'm really interested this season to see how much he's going to be in lockstep with his dad versus how much he's going to sort of move away from it. If something does happen to Roy's new family, as you brought up, how is Gator going to react to all of this? Because Gator's obviously got his own complicated relationship with his father. Like, how did he feel about that family in the first place? I can see Gator at times going a little bit rogue because he's never really been able to make a name for himself other than just your Roy Tillman son. And I'm sure somewhere that's going to eat away at his ego, and he's going to want his own sort of moment to bask in the glory and be like, look at me. Your name is Gator, by the way. You're not in the swamp. You're in the upper Midwest. Why is that your name?
I know, right?
I love watching Gator. I hope Gator does not die anytime soon.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how it all really plays out. I mean, they have not been 100% clear on the show yet if Dot is his mom. I think we've all kind of assumed that the daughter that we met at the beginning at the diner with Roy and that Gator are both of Dot's children. I mean, there hasn't been said that there's been another wife before Dot. There's just this new wife and these twins that look like they're maybe, I don't know, what, like 8?
Yeah, somewhere
7 or 8,
there.
something like that. So, I mean, timeline wise, it would make sense then that Gator would be Dot's kid. So is there somewhere in there then that while he really wants to impress his dad, and his dad has really come down on him to be like, hey, you're kind of a loser, man. Like, man up, let's go, sort of thing. Show me what you're made of. Go bring her back here, sort of thing. And we saw, him and his, people roll up on her house at the end of this episode. Is there going to be a point where Roy just pushed it too hard and then Dot comes in and gives him a little bit of what he's missing, love, compassion, something, where it kind of turns a corner for him? Gator's really complicated.
What I hope to see from this season is that slowly over time, Roy just continues to lose allies left and right. Like, by his own doing, he's already lost Ole Munch. He might be losing his family, as you brought up. I think maybe near the end of the season, he could lose Gator. I mean, before that, I think he's going to end up losing Lorraine. Like, this hasn't been established on the show, but I still am of the belief that Lorraine is probably a pretty big donor to Roy Tillman, or is involved somehow with him staying in office, just because, as I said in the premiere video, people like Roy stay in power because of the support of really rich people that he's able to carry out some of their duties. And I think there's going to be a point where Lorraine is going to be like, whoa, okay, what are you doing here? You're going too crazy, running around with your piercings and all of your other nonsense. I got to back away. And then I think if Gator is the final straw, then you're leaving Roy totally alone. And what that could look like would be really interesting.
Those piercings got to get pulled out by Dot. If that doesn't happen in this season, I'm going to call shenanigans.
I think Noah Hawley has to know what we all want from this show, and it is that.
Listen, you've got it in like the key art. John Hamm pulling his shirt open and showing these piercings.
What if they use that exact
Let's
sound
go.
effect? Okay, we've had so much fun with the most of this episode. Let's talk about the Ole Munch backstory.
Oh my God.
I understand that Fargo is a very weird show, and I know even dating back to the movie, they like to play around with a lot of concepts and mysteries and all of this sort of stuff. And there's multiple interpretations you could take away from what we saw from seemingly Ole Munch or a version of Ole Munch or whatever you want to call it from centuries ago. But it's just like my big takeaway is just, did we need this? And to me, the answer is no, because I threw the No Country for Old Men metaphor out there in the premiere, and I'll go back to it. Now, what made Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men such a compelling character was that we really didn't know very much about him, but that was okay, because what he was doing in the present was so interesting and terrifying and unique that I didn't have time to focus on the past. And it's just, for me with Ole Munch, I think the less I know about him, the more interesting he is, because then I'm just left with all of these sort of questions. And now you're putting these ideas in my head that make me sort of question the realism of this world. And this is Fargo. I understand it can be a little bit over the top, but I don't necessarily want to live in that space while I'm watching.
Yeah, this felt like it wasn't very clear as well. It's like, is Ole Munch then 500 years old, or is he somebody who's a soul eater brought in to eat souls and then is reincarnated as a next person. And it's sort of this, ritual that just keeps going on and on and on throughout his entire family. It's just kind of like, yeah, I just didn't need it. He just needed to walk in and be like, I'm here for you, friendo. Let's go and kill people.
Yeah, that's more than fine. We would have enjoyed that immensely, because like right now, the selling point of this show is Dot and it's Roy. It's like we've got these two opposite ends of a pendulum that is sort of swinging back and forth. And there are these other characters who can sort of be piled in there. And I think Ole Munch is a valuable part of this story. And I do want to see him. It's just, I don't need to see him become like on the level of these other two characters where I'm spending this much time with him or I'm learning these different things about him, because it doesn't feel like as valuable a use of my time. Like the stuff that I enjoyed the most in this episode is, of course, everything that John Hamm is doing. The scene of Wayne and Dot attempting to purchase, something to protect themselves better. And, you've got the guy in the pirate costume and all this, the awkwardness that ensued. But that's the soul of Fargo to me. It's charming in a way, but also really dark and really twisted.
Yeah, like everything that was also going on with Lorraine and Danish and the cops, where she's basically like, I don't need you for anything. Like, what do you do? Like, just leave us alone. We will deal with our own mess.
Can I throw out here now, this is really the best test of how good a season of Fargo is that could you watch a full season based on insert supporting character here? I felt this way with a couple of the earlier seasons too, but I would watch a full season of just Wit. Like, I really like that character. I love Lamar Morris as an actor, and he's great. He's so good. And, we had that little interaction with him, and he's clearly not going to be a pushover in any way. But if we're sort of sitting here and being like, okay, who are going to be the escape plans for Dot at this point? Because I don't know how she stays at home, even with the street sign switch. Like, that's not going to work.
No, it's not working. They rolled right up to her house. They figured it out. So how do they get around this at this point? I, I mean, Dot's got to just come clean to Wayne, like at this
Yeah.
point. I think Wayne is going to end up being someone who really stands up for her and she stands up for him, and them as a family with Scotty are all going to come together to be able to protect this family.
Yeah.
But I think she's going to have to come clean.
I think so too. She's going to have to come clean. She's going to have to realize it's okay to trust some people. And Whit already got some more information at this point. He's kind of found out a little bit more about what happened back in the premiere. And his life was effectively saved. Like, he is going to be there for Dot. He will understand. It's okay. All right. Well, this has been a really fun start to the season. Let's just hope that they keep this going.
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, it's been really fun so far.
All right. Well, as we said earlier, join our Patreon. That link is in the description for weekly Fargo live streams. We cannot wait to continue to dive into all of this messiness.
Yep.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you here next time.